Module 2, Flood Disaster. Unit 2.1, Preparing for Flood Disaster. Learning Outcomes. By the end of this unit, participants will be able to explain the basic concepts of flood disasters and flood preparedness, define how flood risks are assessed, and describe early warning systems. Floods. A flood is the overflow of water onto land that is normally dry. It can occur due to accumulated rainfall, rising levels of rivers and streams, or failure of drainage systems. Compared to flash floods, it lasts longer, and its impacts may continue for days or even weeks. Flood hazards. Intense rainfall increases several risks. Surface runoff rises, infiltration decreases, and control structures may become insufficient. During river floods, water can inundate downstream areas. In rocky or paved regions where water cannot be absorbed, the likelihood of flash floods increases. Flood disaster preparedness. Core principles. Flood preparedness includes various strategies aimed at reducing risks and managing impacts after an event. Key principles include risk assessment, the use of early warning systems, and investments in resilient infrastructure. Community engagement and emergency response. Community engagement involves informing the public about flood risks and emergency plans. Emergency management includes establishing clear protocols, evacuation routes, and shelters, along with conducting regular drills. Additionally, flood insurance is encouraged for individuals and businesses. Long-term resilience. Long-term resilience includes sustainable land use, protection of natural buffer zones, and climate change adaptation efforts. A safer future against floods is achieved through collaboration at all levels, combining risk analysis, community participation, and resilient infrastructure. Sources and strategies for flood preparedness. Flood risk information. Sources used for flood preparedness include floodplain maps, local warning systems, weather forecasts, and long-term climate data. Sources and strategies for emergency management. For effective emergency management, it is important to monitor flood risks, develop preparedness policies, plan resources, and raise public awareness through education. Components of emergency management for flood preparedness. The core components of flood preparedness include collaboration with meteorological agencies through early warning systems, strengthening community engagement, regular training and drills, rapid mobilization of resources, and continuous evaluation processes. Developing a flood emergency plan. A flood emergency plan provides a framework that defines management tasks and responsibilities. Plans developed at different levels enhance community resilience to flood risks. Key steps in crafting a flood emergency plan. The first step in preparing a flood emergency plan is developing a comprehensive project plan. Flood risks are then assessed and analyzed through collaboration. Goals and strategies are identified. The plan is documented clearly, and approval is obtained from relevant authorities. Finally, the plan is implemented and updated through regular drills and evaluations. Consultation, communication, and continuous improvement. Consultation, communication, and continuous improvement play a significant role in flood emergency planning. Stakeholder involvement and community participation enhance the sense of ownership. To maintain the effectiveness of plans, regular drills, evaluations, and ongoing communication with the public are required. Therefore, flood planning is a dynamic process in which communication and improvement continue continuously. Flood hazard identification. Understanding flood hazards. Flood hazards are diverse. River floods, coastal floods, flash floods, and urban floods are among them. Accurate identification requires a comprehensive understanding of the region's geography, hydrological processes, and meteorological conditions. Flood hazard identification, tools and technologies. Many tools and technologies are used to identify flood hazards. GIS systems analyze spatial data to map flood-prone areas. Satellite imagery tracks land changes and flood impacts. Hydrological models simulate water movement and predict flood spread. Radar systems provide real-time rainfall information. LiDAR technology produces precise elevation models. Floodplain maps combine these datasets to identify high-risk zones. Weather forecasts and early warning systems indicate potential flood events. Additionally, social media and crowdsourcing enable real-time flood data collection from the public. Challenges and future outlook. Challenges. There are several major challenges in identifying flood hazards. Limited or low-quality data complicates risk assessments. The installation and maintenance of technologies may be costly, especially in developing regions. Additionally, flood causes are influenced by many factors, making interactions complex. Another issue is human error. Deficiencies in preparedness processes can increase risks. Conclusion. Despite these challenges, modern technologies offer significant opportunities for understanding flood risk and enhancing resilience. Ongoing technological advancements and their integration into comprehensive strategies help evaluate flood risks more accurately and reduce their impacts. Assessing risk and vulnerabilities. Components of a comprehensive flood risk assessment. This section explains how flood risk is assessed. First, land characteristics and current land use are examined. Then, potential flood sources within the area are identified. Hydraulic intensity analyses evaluate flow strength and its impacts, while topography and subsurface conditions are also considered. Agency data is used to model possible water levels in the region. Finally, the vulnerability of the area and the potential consequences of flooding are assessed. This evaluation also considers the impact of climate change on future flood risk. Mitigation, measures and recommendations. At this stage, recommendations for reducing flood risk are developed. Both structural and non-structural measures are suggested. The environmental impact of planned projects is analyzed, and necessary risk reduction steps are defined. In addition, current scientific data is integrated into the process so that recommendations are continuously improved. All measures ensure compliance with relevant regulations and standards. Flood hazard evacuation. This section addresses evacuation strategies for flood hazards. First, evacuation types are evaluated. Pre-warned evacuations involve early notification for events such as floods, enabling planned movement of populations. In contrast, immediate evacuations are carried out urgently when hazards develop rapidly. Next, the two-step evacuation approach is applied. The first phase includes rapid evacuation at the moment of direct threat. The second phase involves relocating individuals to designated safe centers after the hazard subsides. Finally, the scope of evacuation is determined. Some scenarios require total evacuation of the entire population, while others involve partial evacuation of only those under direct risk. In phased evacuations, different communities are evacuated in a specific order based on risk levels and logistical capacity. Warning systems. This section examines the functioning of warning systems and the main challenges encountered. Warning systems operate effectively through the combined functioning of technical, administrative, and social components. These systems rely on monitoring hazards, analyzing data, and communicating results to the public through appropriate channels. Their effectiveness depends on accurate predictions, clear messaging, and continuous evaluation mechanisms. The main challenges include variations in the predictability of hazards and the negative impact of false alarms on public trust. Therefore, monitoring, evaluation, and improvement processes must be updated continuously. Now it's the quiz time. Quiz 1. What are the core principles of flood disaster preparedness? A. Infrastructure's resilience. B. Early warnings. C. Risk assessment. D. All the statements are correct. The correct answer is D. All the statements are correct. Quiz 2. What is considered part of long-term resilience? A. Climate change mitigation. B. Water sanitation. C. Waste management. D. Climate change adaptation. The correct answer is D. Climate change adaptation. Quiz 3. What is a flood emergency plan, FEP? A. A FEP is a coordinating structure for policy development. B. A FEP is a continuous cycle for urbanization planning. C. A FEP is a framework for flood management. D. A FEP is a deployment policy. The correct answer is C. A FEP is a framework for flood management. This final self-assessment provides an opportunity to review the key concepts introduced in this unit. By answering the 5 questions, learners can identify the topics they already understand and the areas that may require additional attention. The test supports a clearer learning path before moving on to the next module. Overall, this unit highlights the key elements of flood preparedness: understanding hazards, assessing risks, and developing effective emergency plans. Despite existing challenges, improved technologies and strong collaboration help communities reduce flood impacts and build long-term resilience.